Joining me here at ESPN 106.3 is Benjmain Boynton, certified financial planner and founder of the Boynton Financial Group. They are being recognized as the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County's Business of the Month. Ben, congratulations so much on the award, and thanks for your time. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it. Really like being here.
So, Ben, first off, just start broadly. Tell me a little bit more about the Boynton Financial Group.
So the Boynton Financial Group actually goes back all the way to when I was in high school. We're an agricultural family and grew up in Palm Beach County. And over the years, I also had an interest in finance. And so when I went to college, went that direction and opened up an office when I got out of college at the University of Florida. And then after a number of years, my wife and I thought we wanted to do it on an independent side. And so in 1997, we opened up our own independent office of Raymond James, Boynton Financial Group.
So, Ben, I get the chance to interview a handful of medical professionals. We often talk about big injuries in sports, and one of the things I think is interesting is their approach. When a patient comes in, those preliminary meetings, personal history, what are your objectives with surgery, rehab, and things like that, connecting that to your business at Boynton Financial Group. What are the topics, the objectives? What are those preliminary discussions that you have with a variety of clients? Because I know you do so many things, so many services. Just talk about, I guess, those preliminary meetings and just sort of how you get a feel with how you want to help clients reach their goals.
In general, what ends up happening typically is that someone has a need of something in particular. Yeah, it's not just about, I think I want some financial planning or asset management. Usually it is more driven by something. So what happens is sometimes we'll start off with that and then back into and figure out where their actual needs are. But yes, it's kind of like a triage. And so we're triaging with a patient, and I sat on the board of a hospital for a number of years, so we dealt with that. But what you end up doing is figuring out what the needs are and starting to ask questions. You figure out what their experience or background is. Sometimes people have a lot of thoughts of what they really want. Sometimes they're on the right track, and sometimes they don't really know what questions to ask. And so our job a lot of times is to figure out the questions we figure out the intent, and then we try to figure out where they need to be.
Talked about the variety of clients. You guys work with business owners, corporate executives, families, healthcare professionals. More than that, how do those conversations, and maybe this is getting extra granular, but I guess how do those conversations differ depending on the client that you're visiting with?
Well, a lot of times it has to do with what their end goals are. So if it's someone working towards retirement, you're down a path from that direction. We work with a lot of companies right now. We have a number of companies, clients that actually have companies that they're actually looking to sell. And with that, when we're dealing with something like that, we actually have to be able to kind of walk in that universe and figure out how to get them prepared for sale. Sometimes we're even coaching them on how to even talk with the potential buyers. Actually, we have professional sports people as clients, and they have a whole different realm. Many times they're coming from a scenario where they don't have a large amount of assets at the magnitude that they're going to be exposed to. And so we're guiding them from that aspect, working with our agents and professionals circling them. And I will say in a lot of cases, they are circling them.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes for the good, and sometimes, other ulterior motives. And so a lot of times we're brought in by where we have a client, or we've been brought in by a referral from a lot of times the parent, and then they are helping guiding that student athlete, especially in that realm. So it's just interesting. Every aspect we're trying to figure out what the issue is, and we're trying to figure out which direction to take them.
Again, Cyrus Wittig here with Ben Boynton, certified financial planner, founder of Boynton Financial Group. They are being recognized as the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County's Business of the Month. Ben, I know that every client is different, each of them with different goals. How is Boynton Financial Group able to offer, personalized strategies rather than, your generic run-of-the-mill investment program?
It's a really good question, because everyone in our industry is an expert to everything. And so how do you stand out? And some of the things that we do that we have actually been successful with over the past 30 years of being in practice is that what we do is we have a large team that we've put together over the years. All of our clients work with one entire team, so we don't have there's no distractions from that angle. We also, as we're working with our clients, we actually have developed our own model portfolio. So a lot of times people will state that they manage assets and they do things like that. However, a lot of times they're not really choosing investments and actually really on the spot. And we always kind of looked at it this way: is that when someone actually, to be realistic about it, if someone asks something about their portfolio, and if it wasn't us who actually placed it in that portfolio, we'd basically have to answer their question with like this: well, the reason that is in your portfolio is because they put it there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have hands-on. My wife and I both have finance degrees. In fact, that's where we met in college,
Yeah.
finance class. So anyways, but we've been doing it from that perspective ever since.
Again, talked about the variety of clients, again, variety of services as well. Just again, going down the list: estate, charitable giving and trust, business planning, financial planning, investment solutions, portfolio management, retirement planning. How are you and your colleagues at Boynton Financial Group able to provide so many different services to so many different different clients with, while keeping up the quality of your work, the treatment of your clients to the highest of standards?
Well, years ago, everyone who approached us, we would take on as a client, and we actually got to a point in time where we actually had too many clients. And over the years, we've actually become more selective. We did put a first rule in place. First rule to be a client when we're working with someone is are you nice?
Good start.
And so even when someone's referring someone, our question is, are they nice? And but realistically, then from there, it has to do with assets. So typically, our minimum clients are $1 million or $2 million of managed assets or more. Typically, much more than that. But that's where we start. And so what happens is we take on a certain number of clients, and that's allowed us to keep our services at the level, because we treat ourselves as a similar to a family office. We don't do bookkeeping and accounting, but our clients feel like they are totally taken care of, because we're actually, a lot of times we're working with the attorneys. We're actually helping develop the ideas with the attorneys and the clients, and same thing with accounting.
Regardless of the client you're working with, the service you're providing, it's paramount, of course, to be ahead of the trend economically and with the changing financial trends of the times. How do you stay ahead of the curve at Boynton Financial Group?
Constant education. Constantly. And we also, my wife and I, as you mentioned, are both certified financial planners. And so we utilize our finance background, being a CFP, and we're fee-based only planners for the most part. And then what ends up happening is that we study the economy. We're constantly studying the news. We're making opinions, and that's how actually we're managing our portfolios too, is through that knowledge. But I'd say, some of it comes with a knack. Over the years, we've had a number of great team members, and some of them enjoy the markets, some don't. And so we enjoy the markets, the economy, and staying ahead of it. Like right now, in 2022, we just went through the inflation issue.
Yes.
And inflation meant higher interest rates. Higher interest rates, are meant to stall the economy to a certain degree, and you don't want to stall too much. And so we're constantly evaluating a lot of that and trying to figure out where we're going to make changes to our portfolios, and that all then relays back to how we handle our clients.
Again, Cyrus Wittig here. Got a couple more things to cover with Benjmain Boynton. Ben Boynton, certified financial planner, founder of the Boynton Financial Group, who is being recognized as the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County's Business of the Month. For, again, talking about those economic trends, again, you mentioned inflation. We've been dealing with that for a couple of years now, along with high interest rates. Not to get too granular on those two specific topics, but when you look the rest of the calendar year, 2, 3, 5 years down the line, what are some of the trends that are particularly interesting to you, stand out maybe more than others?
Well, right, if looking back over the past 30 years, I remember many different times. I remember when we were in the 90s, when we were talking about .com,
yes,
web, and that direction. And then you had the real estate boom and bust, in the early 2000s. And then after that, then you had the world recession. So all these different trends of what's happening, there's always probably someplace good to invest. It's just a matter of where. That's really the way to look at it. And so right now, when we're looking forward, We believe that the interest rate environment will settle down somewhat. Actually, even interest rates when you really look at interest rates long term, they're not really all that high in general. There are certain ones that are, but we're used to. Everything is what you get used to. So we feel that like as we get towards the end of this year, there's a high probability we'll see some rate cuts. Last year, there was a lot of speculation they would have 6 or 7 rate cuts this year. Our belief was the first one wouldn't even happen until the end of summer. And so far, we're really kind of on track for that.
Yeah.
And that's a maybe, but that was the first time that we really felt or feel like that the first one could possibly happen.
We've spent the last few minutes, looking forward. Now looking backward, you mentioned your wife, Joanna. You guys have been practicing financial planning here in Florida and Wellington specifically since 1997. What do you think has changed the most, not in terms of economic trends, obviously, again, .com bubble, real estate, but in terms of the way that maybe you've approached your work? What have you done differently? What do you do differently now? How do you approach things differently than you did, again, back late 90s, early 2000s, and so on?
It's a variety. Some of it is the economic side, and then the other side is how we do it. And so we always felt like as if we were ahead of the game as far as our knowledge, our background, our interest, and then you go through a scenario like a Y2K and a 9/11, and all of a sudden you get a PhD basically in it, and then you think, okay, I figured it all out, and then you go through a world recession, and then so what happens is over time I think you become more conservative, and you figure out how to really balance out someone's portfolio and be realistic. 30 years ago, when people were doing estimates, and even including us, you'd look and you would say, oh, wow, if you average 10% per year, because you look at straight stock market, and which has a long history of having a high average. And people you're unfortunately setting expectations that's what to expect. And then the reality is you go through a period of time like March of 2000 to March of 2010 when the S&P had a minus 0.5% per year for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait, you can have high averages, but you're also going to have low averages. So you have to figure out, you don't know when you're going to retire or need the money. You could fall right in the middle. And so we got to where we did not feel bad about saying, hey, we're going to look at this is the average we're going to target. Maybe we'll do better. Maybe we'll do worse. And then setting expectations, and what it's done is, in the end, clients have been more realistic, and they're pleasantly surprised when things do better. When things are down or you're in a down period like a 2022, you get a little bit of nervousness, but not to the same degree that 30 years ago would have had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and 30 years ago, you and your wife, Joanna, you've been, again, working so close for so long.
Yep.
Not many people, of course, have that experience working side by side with their spouse. How do you think that has, benefited not just the building of your business, but benefited the clients and the people that you serve?
Phenomenally well. We've actually this year we'll be married 30 years also.
Congratulations.
So actually, why I think so is because so much of the time you have a partner. You could have a firm, you could have multiple principals and things like that, and in many cases people think similar or similar enough, and but then they break apart because there are other parts in their lives that pull them different places. And so with us, it wasn't one of us was going to move away and or it was just all about being local. And also with my background of being in Palm Beach County and Florida so long, our thoughts were always, it wasn't a matter of like, where are we going to move to next? It was always, that's where we're going to live somewhere local. On top of that, it's a matter of trust. And so we think alike a lot, but she's sometimes more analytical on processes, and she does everything I do, and I do everything she does, but we're different enough. And so it's actually benefited our clients a lot. And also sometimes our clients, they enjoy working with her. I mean, might not say they don't enjoy working with me,
Sure.
or vice versa, but it's, you tend to gravitate sometimes towards one person or another, and it's worked out really, really well from the team.
When you mentioned, we were talking before we came on air here, talked about, 4th generation Palm Beach County, 6th generation Florida. Yeah. How much confidence, security does that give your clients, those you work with, that, like you said, hey, we're not going anywhere. We are Sunshine State and born and bred. We are going to be here. Do you think that has a real positive impact on, again, those you work with?
I do. Our team, our clients, a lot of times our clients find our history interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Yeah. And a lot of ties to Palm Beach County. And so yes, it's very helpful from that aspect. And then also now, we've been doing this for 30 years, so it's less of the question, but 25 years ago, someone might walk in and say, well, how do I know you're going to stick around here? And reality is that, we're able to,
Sure.
I mean, it is just what I say, but the reality is that we're in the agriculture industry in the Glades, and so I'm involved with that also. So to me, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like, it wasn't a matter of where I was going to live; it was just a matter of which part of the county you're going to live in. So.
Cyrus Wittig wrapping things up with Ben Boynton, certified financial planner, founder of Boynton Financial Group, again being recognized as the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County's Business of the Month. Talking about the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, just talk about your relationship with them and how that relationship has been mutually beneficial.
Yes, I love the BDB. I actually, a number of years ago, a county commissioner needed a person to be on the county commission. He hadn't had anybody on there for a number of years, and he and a past county commissioner approached me to be on the board, and the board was open to that, so I joined the board from that capacity, and then the next county commissioner kept me on, which was very nice of her, and then it moved on, and then the BDB invited me to be on the board through a general election, however they do their electorate. Anyways, and so what ended up happening is what I've always enjoyed about the BDB is that it has been about business in Palm Beach County, and it's not just about, sometimes people believe it's just maybe bringing in new business, but there's such an importance in retention and the current businesses that are here. So I come from a family that's been in business in Palm Beach County since the late 20s, and so it's retention, and then there's also growth. And so as all the way to recently, we have Wall Street South, which is trademarked by the BDB in Palm Beach County, which is an amazing feat.
Yes.
In reality. And so it's been an incredible journey, and I chaired the board for several years, very fortunate to that, and I'm on the executive committee now, and it's just neat to see an organization that is focused on the economy of Palm Beach County and constantly changing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So what we were doing 10 or 20 years ago is different. In similarity, it's the same, but it's different on who we're approaching, how we're retaining, et cetera.
You mentioned being on the board of the BDB and relating this back to, again, Boynton Financial Group. Your business is all about helping your clients, helping individuals, helping organizations. But I know that you and Boynton Financial Group are very interested in doing the same thing outside of the business realm. Mm-hmm. Talk about your support of philanthropy and just how important that is for you personally and for the Boynton Group as an organization. Excuse me.
Well, we've always been big believers in philanthropy and charitable organizations and not-for-profits. And so very early on, even when Joanna and I established our practice, the community reached out and they had some needs for people to be involved. And so we actually very early on in our 20s, we actually chaired the American Heart Association ball in the Western communities back when there was one. And they had trouble getting the support. And in the first year, we were able to double that support that they had passed. And then we continued to chair. We've done a number of different organizations. So currently, for example, she's on the Wellington Community Foundation board. Will be in this next year on the Palm Beach Drama Works board here right around the corner from here, basically. And then I've also been on the hospital board in Wellington Regional, great Western Hospital, amongst many other great hospitals in Palm Beach County. And then she was involved in Boys and Girls Club. What it is to us, it's always about giving back. And many times people join boards, and not for the wrong reason, but they join them to meet other people to try to gain business. With us, we are referral based. We only take on so many clients. We've always just done it because it was just what you do. When I went to Carl Newman High School here in Palm Beach County.
Go Crusaders!
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and actually, when I was the Key Club president of the largest Key Club in the state of Florida, there was no benefit for business. It was just what you do. And so I've been a member of the Wellington Rotary for don't even remember how long. It's probably like 95 or 6 or something like that. There are a lot of great organizations out there, and I would encourage anybody and everybody to get involved and figure out ways to help. And actually, the best way to do it is to get on committees. I tell people that all the time. Even when they join the business development board, I tell them it's like, get on a committee. You will meet people. If something develops out of that, great, but you're going to feel better about it, and you're going to walk into the room, and you're going to know half the room, and that's what, and then it makes it fun.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Ben, before I let you go, we are on ESPN 106.3 after all, so got to talk a little bit of sports, and I was reading a bit of your background, and I saw something that, you don't see every day, that you were big into barefoot water skiing. Do I have that right? And
Sure.
Obviously, we're in Florida, so water sports are not out of the ordinary for us, but how did you kind of, find that, how did you get into that specific sport? Just talk a little bit more about that.
So the funny part there is that we grew up in a water skiing family. A lot of families are snow skiing.
Yeah.
And I grew up water skiing at a very, very young age. My dad had me out on skis. I'm not sure if I could talk first or ski first, but what happened was over the years, I was skiing. We slalom ski. We did a lot of that. And then what ended up happening was that when I turned, it was about 16 years old. Mike Seipel was a very famous barefoot water skier, and even had places down here in Palm Beach County over by the airport along the canal over there. And stuff like that. And we actually, my brother and I and some friends, our family has a place in North Carolina on a lake up there. And once I turned 16, I could drive. No one else could drive, and that was before internet and before cell phones. And even though I'm not that old, but the reality is that we literally my dad said we talked to him about barefoot water to learn how, and so he let us drive this old Suburban that we had, and we drove probably 4 or 5 hours. But no, there was no Google, no Google Maps or anything, and we went and bought this Mike Seipel barefoot boom, came back to the lake, and we spent the next 3 weeks getting beat up pretty bad, but we taught ourselves how to barefoot water ski.
Wow.
And so with a boom, so it was a little helpful, but it wasn't just like you just jump out there. I mean, really, and then you do it behind the boat. So we finally got to where by the end of the second summer, we could do 3 barefooters behind the boat at the same time.
Wow.
So it was pretty wild. So I have some pretty neat pictures.
That is really incredible. So, when do you feel was there one, I'm not sure, but I have to imagine there was sort of an instance where it sort of clicked for you. Did you remember that? Not the day specifically, I'm sure you remember that, but what kind of changed in your head? You said, oh, if I do this, that's how kind of this all comes together. What was that?
Yeah, it was actually because you're tense, you're worried, and you're going much faster than normal skiing. So, and when you fall, in fact, I broke my nose in the water hit me and broke my nose.
I 100% believe that.
And so probably a little crooked today. But the reality is that one day it was just kind of like all of a sudden it just kind of I got it, and then it was kind of like, I hate to switch gears on the sport, but it's kind of like in golf. Like if you go out there and you have 500 different things you got to do all at the same time, correctly, and then also not worry about it too. Like you're supposed to be relaxed. And so and then all of a sudden one time you actually finally hit that ball, and then you can actually you think to yourself like, well, I think if I just swung this way, I can make it slice or this and all of a sudden you do it again. You're like, oh wow, I made a backspin. And then you kind of you got it. And that's what happened. And it's just somewhere in the barefooting, it just kind of clicked.
Yeah.
And on the bottom of your feet, you just felt it, and you felt like, oh, I can slide sideways. I can do this. You kind of. Then the world was just open to whatever you wanted to do.
We're talking about, you mentioned golf, and I know you're a big sports fan. You've been to a bunch of awesome events. Obviously, we had the Masters just wrap up, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. Scotty Scheffler, who, again, won the RBC Heritage, won 4 of his last 5 starts. I think the only person more dominant than Scotty Scheffler right now is Nelly Korda on the LPGA Tour. She's won 5 starts in a row. Incredible. Ridiculous. Is there, from a golf perspective and going to the Masters, is there, I feel like everyone who's been has that one moment that they remember more than any other. Do you have a Masters memory that always comes to the forefront of your mind?
Yes, it's not the shot that I saw plenty of great shots. A couple of things. One is more of an overall memory is that I tell people, because I've been in the Masters luckily have been there a few different times over the years, and I tell people that the grounds that that all the spectators walk around on are nicer than most golf courses you'll ever play on.
Yes.
The grounds that you walk around, not even the course. But the reality of it is one of was Ernie Els was actually there. I believe it was his first year there, and he had just teed off. I don't remember which hole, but he just teed off because the rest of the memory is more important. And I remember that he turned around to go to get out of the crowd, and the crowd didn't know who he was. He was just another person because he was newer there. And to be at the Masters, you had to be phenomenal already. But what was amazing is they didn't give him any space, and he actually had to basically push his way through the crowd, and he walked right by me. I mean, I backed up. I thought, wow,
Yeah.
he's better than I'll ever even dream to be. And he had to actually push. And then look where he went. And I wonder if anybody else actually remembers being there when he did that, and he had to push through that space. And I thought, what? No one gave him any respect that time.
Yeah. Hey, well, I'm sure they gave him respect by the end of that round, maybe. Ben, before I let you go, and this has been such a pleasure catching up, hearing about Boynton Financial Group and all these great sports stories. Want to take it back to Boynton Financial Group. What's, at the end of the day, you and Joanna started the business 1997. There's a reason you are so enthused about the work that you do. What is the most rewarding part about, the day in, day out objectives, goals, challenges of working and building, growing Boynton Financial Group?
Twofold. One is when we actually see someone accomplish the goals that they had set out to be there, and we've worked with them for a while, so we know that we were involved. And you can just tell by the way they thank us, or they talk to us about it, they know that we help them. And then the other side is even when the client or the families, because a lot of our families are multi-generation. We've had even as many as 4 generations alive at the same time that we've managed. And it's just seeing like the next generation, like you've worked with say 2 or 3 generations, and then that upper generation passes, which we've had recently this year, and then that next generation, you see the wealth that they have passed down, and you see it kind of keep on going down, and you just know that this family line for 2 or 3 or 4 generations to come, even past us, hopefully all of that's ingrained, that they're able to continue on with that legacy. And so it's just a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's a rewarding feeling.
Of course. Well, Ben, I will let you go. But again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the insight, information, awesome stories as well. Congratulations on the recognition, Business Development Board of Palm Beach County's Business of the Month, and sincerely looking forward to the next time we get to catch up.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.